Hello everyone, thank you very much for watching. This is an introductory video on the Neapolitan chord. The Neapolitan chord is a chromatic chord, and chromatic chords in tonal music are almost always derived from diatonic chords. The Neapolitan chord is no different, and just like other chromatic chords such as secondary dominants and secondary leading tone chords, the Neapolitan chord behaves similarly to the diatonic chord from which it is derived. The chromaticism intensifies motion to the next seemingly inevitable musical event, usually through increased half-step motion. The Neapolitan is a chromatically altered supertonic triad and behaves, as you might expect, in many of the same ways as a diatonic 2-chord, likely moving or progressing to a dominant functioning chord. The chromatic alteration to the supertonic chord creates increased half-step motion possibilities, intensifying or propelling the music seemingly with more inevitability to the dominant functioning chord. First, look at the familiar diatonic 2-chord in first inversion within the key of G minor with the notes C, E flat, and A. Don't forget about that key signature. The Neapolitan chord is a chromatic alteration of this chord with flat scale degree 2 as the chordal root. Scale degree 2 lowered a half step, in this example from A to A flat. The chromatic alteration transforms the 2-chord from a diminished triad into a major triad in first inversion with the notes C, E flat, and A flat. The Neapolitan chord is a major triad constructed from a chordal root of flat scale degree 2. Scale degree 2 lowered a half step. It also most commonly appears in first inversion, as seen here. Notice that in a minor key, the resulting major chord only requires one chromatic note, the lowered chordal root. This is true of the Neapolitan chord in any minor key. However, in major keys, the Neapolitan chord requires 2 chromatic notes to create the major triad. This is true of the Neapolitan in any major key. See the diatonic supertonic chord in the key of G major with the notes C, E, and A. To create a major triad, a Neapolitan chord constructed from a flat scale degree 2 chordal root, not only does A need to be lowered to A flat, the E also needs to be lowered a half step to E flat. If we forget to lower the chordal fifth in a major key, we will be left incorrectly with an augmented triad. Notice that the Neapolitan triad in the minor and parallel major keys are the exact same sonorities. In minor keys, the Neapolitan has 2 tones in common with the diatonic 2 chord. Perhaps for this reason, the Neapolitan is more prevalent in music inhabiting minor key areas, as the singular chromatic adjustment makes the sonority less foreign. Or perhaps in certain contexts, the major triad quality of the Neapolitan chord is preferably less harsh than the diatonic diminished quality of the supertonic triad of minor keys. So we've constructed a Neapolitan triad in first inversion, but have not indicated how to label it with the appropriate Roman numeral. There are 2 analytical conventions that describe or indicate the Neapolitan triad. One option shows the capital letter N with a 6, the N equating to the Neapolitan and the 6 referring to first inversion. The second option uses an uppercase Roman numeral 2 reflecting the major quality of the Neapolitan triad. The 6 to the right of the Roman numeral, as you might expect, refers to first inversion. The flat symbol to the left of the Roman numeral reflects that the chordal root of the sonority has been lowered a half step, the chordal root. Accidentals to the left of any Roman numeral indicates an alteration to the chordal root, a fact that will become more important when studying modal mixture. While it may seem simpler to use the first option, I encourage you to incorporate the second option into your analysis and way of thinking, since it will apply more directly to other topics such as modal mixture. It is also worth noting that the flat to the left of the Roman numeral is used anytime the chordal root has been lowered a half step, even if a natural has been used in the actual music to lower the chordal root, such as the Neapolitan chord within the key of E minor. A natural has been used to lower scale degree 2, the chordal root, a half step from F sharp to F natural. The chord is still analyzed as N6 or flat 2/6, as the flat to the left of the Roman numeral indicates a lowered root, regardless of whether a flat or natural accidental has been used in the actual piece of music to lower that chordal root. As mentioned before, the Neapolitan chord, just like any 2-chord, tends to progress to a dominant functioning harmony. Here we will examine and compare the voice leading of the very common cadential progression to the dominant triad from both a diatonic 2-chord and a Neapolitan chord within the key of G minor. In both examples, the chordal third, the C, has been doubled. The chordal third of the Neapolitan chord tends to be doubled because the other chord members are tendency tones, scale degree 6, the E flat, and lowered scale degree 2, the A flat. Both have strong tendencies to move downward due to their proximity, just a half step, to stable members of the tonic triad, scale degrees 1 and 5. In fact, avoiding voice leading errors is largely dependent on allowing these tendency tones to move downward. If we don't, we will likely end up with the parallel consecutive perfect octaves and an augmented second, as seen in examples 3 and 4. These errors usually result from two preoccupations: keeping the common tone between two harmonies in the same voice, and the assumption that stepwise motion is always preferable to skips. However, stepwise motion and retaining common tones in the same voice are not always preferable, and it will often lead to the voice leading errors seen here in examples 3 and 4. To avoid these errors, try to reframe and expand your thinking of what constitutes a tendency tone. Most likely, you have heard your instructor emphasize the leading tone and chromatic pitches as tendency tones that should be handled carefully, and rightfully so. However, scale degree 6 in a minor key, for whatever reason, is often overlooked as an important tendency tone that should often resolve down by step due to its half-step proximity to scale degree 5. In both examples, start by moving scale degree 6, the E flat, down by step to scale degree 5, the D, and you will likely voice lead these progressions successfully. In moving scale degree 6 down by step to scale degree 5 in conjunction with the bass voice moving up by step, you will have both chordal roots for the root position 5 chord. Now, to complete the 5 triad successfully, you will be more likely to move the remaining two voices by melodic third skips down to the remaining chord tones. Don't be afraid of the melodic third skips. They are fine, and in fact necessary in many predominant to dominant progressions, especially in minor keys. However, as you have learned from previous study, any chord that progresses to the dominant can be delayed through the cadential 6/4. As is often the case, the cadential 6/4 makes these voice leading mistakes less likely, as it allows for students to hold on to those preoccupations I discussed earlier with stepwise motion, as the cadential 6/4 allows for the melodic third skips to the root position 5 chord be connected through stepwise motion. Notice that the 5 chord of beat 4 of both examples 9 and 10 are the same voicings of the 5 chords on beats 3 of examples 7 and 8. The cadential 6/4 has merely but nicely delayed motion to the same root position 5 chord. The progressions seen here, as well as other cadential progressions with scale degree 4 moving to scale degree 5 in the bass voice, such as 4 to 5 for example, are very common in tonal music and are very likely to appear in many figured bass part writing assignments. When the cadential dominant is approached by step from scale degree 4 to 5 in the bass voice, it is often accompanied by the upper voices moving down, contrary motion to the bass, to avoid some of the errors seen here. Listen to the following excerpt from the beginning of one of Beethoven's most famous piano sonatas. The movement begins in the key of C sharp minor. If we are looking for a Neapolitan chord, we know it will be a major triad constructed from a flat scale degree 2 chordal root. Scale degree 2 in the key of C sharp minor is a D sharp. To lower that note a half step will result in D natural. So look for any chords that consist of a D natural. You should see one within the second half of measure 3. The Neapolitan chord within the key of C sharp minor should consist of the notes D natural, F sharp, and A to form a major triad, which is the case in this example. Also notice that the bass note is the F sharp, creating a triad in first inversion, the most likely position of the Neapolitan triad. Therefore, the analysis of this chord is N6 or flat 2/6. As a reminder, using a natural to lower scale degree 2 doesn't alter the analysis. In addition, notice the voice leading of the Neapolitan chord to the dominant 7th chord, the most likely destination of a 2-chord in tonal music. Scale degree 6 is the A, and it moves down by half step to G in the next measure. Flat scale degree 2 is the D natural, and it moves downward to the leading tone, the B sharp, creating the unique melodic interval of a diminished third. This voice leading mirrors the voice leading discussed earlier in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel.